Well, thank you again, everyone, for being here. Thank you for some of the wonderful presentations that I've been listening to for the last day and a half. It's been very encouraging to see that there's an understanding of the challenges. And of course, do we know what the solutions are? I'm not so sure. And I don't claim to come here with solutions. Some of you who follow World Digital Governance, how many of us here in the room have heard about World Digital Governance? Or are familiar that there's a website called, a three-letter website called wdg.org. Actually, yeah, literally three letters. If you're not familiar with it, I would highly encourage you to go take a look at it, because all the questions that are being asked here in the room today are being debated in those forums. And if you're not in those forums, then you're probably missing out a good part of the conversations that's happening outside of this room. So highly encourage you to look at that. So what I here to talk about, obviously today's topic is about securing the Canada and Caribbean futures. Thanks to the High Commissioner from Canada who was here, was kind enough to also invite me to dinner. And it was wonderful to listen to his views and also the views of the Caribbean people who were here. I have been spending the last several months, I'd say better part of last year in Jamaica. And prior to that, I spent about a year traveling across the Caribbean. Of course, this is my first trip to Trinidad, and it was interesting to come during the carnival. But in what I have seen here, I think there is an opportunity. And I've been very thankful to the government of Jamaica and to the people in Jamaica, especially the University of West Indies, Pro-Vice Chancellor Maynard and Sir Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor, as well as various other individuals who have been very supportive of the idea of how to solve this problem. So let's first try and understand what the problem is. I think we all have our own framing of the problem. Some use the word indenture, some use the word reparative justice, some talk about transnational capitalist, we talk about digital sovereignty and freedom. And these are all very different topics, but they are all maybe the same topic. And again, it was mentioned briefly that I'm writing a book on slavery to freedom. And I would say, oh, slavery was abolished a long time ago. So what are we talking about? So why are you bothering to write the book? And so before I get down to what I'm going to talk about in the next 20 minutes or so, I want to talk about what I'm going to talk about. The first thing, what we're going to talk about is, what does securing our future really mean? And how it might get secured. So, it's bottom line up front. I want to give you the bottom line. I'm not giving you yet, but I want to tell you what I'm talking about. The second thing I want to talk about is the freedom-safety paradox. How many of us have heard the term freedom-safety paradox before? If you have, you clearly follow me online. The third thing I want to talk about is the age of digital colonialism. It is here, it is upon us, it is not clear in present danger, you are living it. And I will talk about what that means. The next thing that I want to talk about is, what does reparative justice mean in the digital age? And I don't know if Sir Hilary Beckles is in the room, but if he is, definitely, I'm sure he'd be very interested to hear this part. And while these are some problem statements we can frame, how do we actually solve it? Going back to the first thing that I want to really talk about is securing our future, which is what the topic of today is, or rather these 2 days is. How will this actually work? Is there a real solution? Before I go any further, I'd like to see a show of hands in this room. Please raise your hand, in fact, raise both your hands if you think there is a real solution. You don't have to say a solution out loud, but I'd like to see a real raise of hands. Saying, do you think that there's a real solution? We all know what the problem is, but is there a real solution? I really want to see a show of hands. Okay, 1 hand, 2 hands. So most of us have given into what I call now in the digital age, digital apathy. We have accepted our slavery in the digital world. We have accepted that there is no path out of digital slavery, much like before Martin Luther King and before Gandhi, we had accepted our physical slavery as our reality. And it is okay. It is not a problem because we live in what I'm going to talk about, the freedom-safety paradox. But all that said, what is at risk and what are the consequences of inaction? That's what I want to wrap up on and leave you with a little call to action. It would be meaningless to talk here and not give you something meaningful to take away from here and act because talk is cheap. They say, walk the talk. I say talk the walk. So you walk first. And the question is, what's that action? And so let's talk about the first thing, securing our future. Of course, and I'm not for gun control or otherwise, I'm ambivalent there. Of course, I hate the idea that someone can take a gun and kill kids, whether it's Canada or America. It seems to be happening everywhere now, which is a strange society we live in. But I don't think it's the guns. I think it's us. It's our ability or inability to exercise our freedom properly. So what's really happening is security cannot be about guns, because if we have guns, our children may be killed in the school. So how many of us still want the guns? And I'm not here saying guns are bad, because if you're living in the middle of Oregon and the nearest police station is 10 miles away, you got to save your family. So I get that argument. It's not lost on me. But in the end, the same guns can be used by a massive complex to oppress. They say an oppressive majority can oppress a minority. And every voice must be heard. And I think we understand the importance of that. The question is, how do you hear every voice? We are not a human, a thing that we imagine we are. We are just a collection of 30 to 50 trillion individual cells. Each cell within our body is a living thing. We are a community. And we as an individual are a community bigger than all society, because there's only 8 billion people on earth. But you yourself are a society of 30 trillion things. And how are you managing it effectively is the bigger question. Not so much what is happening elsewhere in the world. We are obsessed with the Savior is coming. We are obsessed with someone else will save the day. If all of us just wake up tomorrow and choose to be responsible, then who's coming with the guns? So the change is not on the outside. The change is on the inside. Stop the preaching, stop talking about telling others what to do. Just do what you have to do, and what you must, and what you shall, and what you were born to do. Because that's within you. And you can go to college, you can go to school, you can take the preachings and the learnings and the teachings and still get nowhere in life, because you haven't found your purpose. We are all born with purpose. Seek that within you. I urge you. And seeking your own purpose is your path to your own security. And what does that mean? And how will we secure our future? The world of AI, that's what we are here to talk about. That race is lost. We are not going to compete in the Caribbean on AI hardware and beat NVIDIA. If you're dreaming that, I am not a realist, but I am an optimist. And I'm telling you, that's not the path to optimism. If you believe that you will defeat OpenAI and get the greatest amount of funds to compete with Google, stop that dream. I am a dreamer, and I am an optimist. But there's a different dream you can. And let me share that dream. The dream is pretty simple. For every $1, and it's math and economics. I'm a mathematician, I'm an economist, I was a banker turned technologist. The math is, in turn, some people say now public policy thinker. I don't think that way though. I would say the essence of this transformation lies in understanding that for every $1 of hardware that is sold in the world, $10 of software gets sold. And those two races are lost. We have lost the AI hardware race. We have lost the AI software race. But for every $10 of software, 1,000 or 10,000, maybe 100,000, maybe $1 million of services get sold. And that's a race we can compete. No, we can win. Whether it's Canada, whether it's Caribbean, it's the whole world that's competing in it. But that creates a much even playing field. It requires no capital expenditure. It just requires your brain power and your desire to learn. And that's why University of West Indies is collaborating with whatever we are doing in Jamaica, the AI Academy. And securing our future, in short, is literally about learning how to win the AI services game. because it's a much bigger game to play and much easier to win. So now comes the question, how will we win? And how will we manage ourselves? Because it's not about managing others. How will we keep ourselves honest each day? How will we wake up every morning and stay focused, laser focused on our goal? I wanted to keep myself focused. So I went and bought a domain called jobcreation.ai. What are the odds? That domain was just sitting there. It was just sitting there for someone to come and take it. I would wonder somebody would have bought it. And jobcreation.ai exists, and it is an initiative created with the ethos primarily to keep myself and the team honest, that that's our only goal, creating jobs. And staying focused and understanding that we live in a freedom-safety paradox. What is the freedom-safety paradox? We are born in the safety of the mother's womb, unless, of course, you're born in a test tube, which happens. But we're born in the safety of a womb. And we come out and we look for freedom. And we try to run as far away from home as possible. As we get older and we learn things, our knowledge and our pursuit of knowledge keeps us driving towards freedom until such a point where we run too far away. And then we realize the need for safety and we come right back home. This is to all the people who ever run away from home and come back. This is to all the people who ever left a job, tried to become an entrepreneur, quit that entrepreneurism and gone back to a job. Look within. It's not about looking outside. And it's the freedom-safety paradox we all struggle with. And I struggle with it every day. And the question is, how do you still stay focused on that and say the securing the future is about learning AI? So I'm an AI professor at NYU. I should say faculty, because they haven't made me professor yet. But I teach AI, and I teach everyone from board members and C-suite executives to world leaders who come in, learn about AI. But it's really about, not so much about AI, but to what end? What are you going to do? And what's the point of it? Because if we are going to live in the age of digital colonialism, then what's the point of it? And what is digital colonialism really? What is the battle? What was physical colonialism? Physical colonialism, even maybe we could say physical slavery, was about one person being indentured, bound, restricted. Restricted in a room, can't leave the house, can't leave the plantation, forced into labor, restricted into not leaving the country. Guess what? You still can't leave the country. You need a passport and a visa. And the person on the other side has to allow you. So we've sort of gone past that, but not fully past that. Now, I'm not for a borderless world. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a idealist white globe believer. I do believe there's need for boundaries, because if there are no boundaries, your cells wouldn't exist, your organs won't exist, your body would decompose pretty quickly. So there's a need for boundaries, and boundaries are good. But digital colonialism has foundational challenge, and the foundational challenge is you don't own your data. We talk about privacy, we talk about GDPR, we talk about all these regulations, and privacy is good and important, and some people will say, no, privacy is gone. Everything is in the internet. GPT, you ask GPT about me, it knows everything, what's the point? And they say, oh, the future generation doesn't even care. There's complete digital apathy. But actually, I would urge you and encourage you to challenge this hypothesis that this is not true. Data ownership is the real battle. You owning your data. And Jamaica, interestingly, that's why I spend a lot of time there, has already changed the law where you, the citizen, own your data. And because you as a citizen own your data, you are not, it's not possible to colonize you anymore digitally. And then the question comes of reparative justice. And where is the justice? And we can talk about justice in the past till the cows come home. But if we don't secure our future, the justice of the past won't mean anything. Because justice of the past is like a man looking for fish, but not learning how to fish. But the justice of the future is about learning how to fish. So your future generations don't have to go seeking fish and begging for fish. So as much as reparative justice is important, it is important to secure the future, which comes through what one can call digital sovereignty. And what is digital sovereignty really? How many of us have heard the term digital you? Please, show of hands if you heard the term digital you before coming into the room. If you haven't, I will humor you. The digital you, like the physical you, we understand the physical you, the 30 trillion, 50 trillion cells we talked about. The digital you is comprised of three things. Your identity, more broadly your data, all the forms of ID, everything. Every label you ever acquired from the time you were born, your parents called you baby or whatever they called you, and then they gave you a real name because the school wouldn't, otherwise everybody in school would be called baby. That'd be kind of crazy. So they gave you a name, and then of course you had your matriarchal name or a family name, whatever else, and then more identities got applied. I went to UV, I did this school, I did that class, I got these grades, etc., etc., etc. And you accumulate all this data over your lifetime. And as you accumulate this data is actually you, because that's your sense of identity. That is who you are. That's how you, when you close your eyes and say, who am I? You mostly are identifying with your data, but actually that's not true. That is just a label or a set of labels. It's how others measure you. It's how others recognize you. Who you truly are, your real sense of identity, is the sum total of what's in your brain, your experiences. You are your experiences. You are a giant multi-dimensional, multi-sensorial camera that is recording everything in your environment. So who are you really? You are the sum total of your experiences. And that's who you are. And so if you are the sum total of your experiences, what is digital sovereignty? Digital sovereignty is the ability to choose the experience you like. Digital sovereignty is the ability to say, this is not an experience I like. A lot of women at a certain age and men choose to divorce at a certain age because they don't like the experience anymore. And if you ask them, they will tell you that that's the reason. That experience doesn't serve them, and it's not who they want to be. And that's who we are. But the interesting thing here about digital sovereignty is that there is a thing called free will. How many of us, again, a show of hands in the room, do believe that free will actually exists? But quite a lot of determinists in the room, I see. Oh. So if free will does exist, let's humor for a second that free will does exist. And if it does, that's agency. And sovereignty is really about your right to exercise that agency. And that agency you can exercise, a child can exercise agency, but to err is human, and children make mistakes, even humans do, adults do. How would you do things right? How would you do the right things? And there comes the question of skill and mastery. We talked about, I think the first gentleman, the keynote speaker today, talked about capability, ideas, and institution. And the question is, what is the capability? And he said, he used the term, a very interesting term, material capability. And we're materialists, we live in a material world. But the capability is beyond the materials. It's the ability for a sculptor to take the materials and convert it into something. Material capability is not inherent in the properties of the material. It's inherent in the life, the humans, that take those materials and shape those materials. And that's what is called skill. So the real battle here for sovereignty is the battle of skills. And to this effect, I have spent maybe the last decade of my life perfecting the art of skill measurement quantitatively, using quantitative methods, artificial intelligence, to determine quantitatively every possible skill of an individual. I call this, now a lot of people call this now because lots of people have taken the test, the genius quotient. Einstein said that if you judge the fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its life thinking it's a failure. And for individual to find their true purpose, their ikigai, if you will, we've all heard the term, I believe, it is critical that we understand this aspect of deeply understanding our skill. There was a Harvard study that says humans are in pursuit of freedom, mastery, and purpose. And it's that mastery that I'm talking about, that skill, that desire to earn a skill. And often our life, our jobs, our pursuit is not in that direction. So I'd urge everyone in this room to rethink what your life's pursuit today is. And is your life's pursuit in the moment in the day, in the week, when you go home, towards that freedom, mastery, and purpose. And if you don't know, I would say go take a Genius Quotient test very self-servingly, because I do believe that that's a pathway for job creation. Because when you take that test, you know exactly what you know and what you don't know. And when you know what you don't know, you can do what is called directed delta learning. This is where I see complete transformation in educational systems of the future powered by AI. We live in a world where one size fits all. We still do classrooms. We still have a structured mechanism of pedagogy. We have, or Kogi, however you pronounce it, we have a mechanism where one size fits all in education still. AI brings that power to do skill measurement quantitatively and granularly to understand where your individual gaps are. AI brings the power to then upskill in a very capital efficient way and time efficient way every individual towards their right job, towards their true mastery and true freedom and true purpose. And that's the power. And the risks of not doing this, we all know. The risks are digital colonialism for a long time. So someone talked about we are in an interregnum this morning, the moving from one operating system to the other, the period of no structure. And I do think we are, because we all know that capitalism showed us a very efficient economy and showed how economies can be very efficient, but also came with a lot of challenges. And we are, I do believe deeply, headed towards a new structure, and I call this structure digitalism. The shift from financial mechanisms of control to algorithmic mechanisms of control. And it's already happening. If you don't see it, you are living an era of digitalism. You're actually living on the cusp of capitalism and digitalism. I don't think there's a term like that, but if there is now, there is one. So that's where the world is headed. And I would encourage all of you to go to wdg.org. And if you have questions for me, I know we may not have a lot of questions because we're almost out of time, but I'm happy to take questions now or after. Do feel free to email me. My email on this topic is ed@wdg.org. I read all of the emails and I respond to them. I don't use AI to read my emails. And I will personally respond to every one of you because I don't claim to have all the answers. I have questions, and I have more questions than probably you do because I've been thinking about this for a long time. So I welcome more questions because through that mechanism, we can all collectively learn. So thank you very much for the opportunity.